My name is Laura. Standing in the middle of my parents' silent dining room, I watched as my father, Henry, turned ashen at the sight of the folder I'd placed before him. My mother, Vivian, gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, and my younger sister, Lily, looked up from her phone, her eyes wide with confusion. It all started on a seemingly ordinary Sunday lunch. I'd casually asked, "Did you pick up my prescription?" "The doctor said it's urgent." Henry, without looking up from his plate, replied, "We used that money to buy Lily a new laptop. She needs it for her online courses." I stared at them in disbelief and then mentioned the warning label from the pharmacist. Their faces paled instantly. The silence that followed was suffocating. Henry continued to cut his steak methodically, as if ignoring the problem would make it disappear. Vivian fidgeted with a tablecloth, her nervousness palpable. "Laura, don't be so dramatic," Henry finally said. "It's just medication. We'll get it next week. Lily's education is an investment in her future." I looked at Lily, who was 17, full of energy and completely absorbed in her new laptop, testing different software. In this family, she was the precious gem, always in the spotlight, while I was the one who kept things running smoothly, often overlooked. Rage welled up inside me. I stood up, my hands trembling. It wasn't just the physical manifestation of the neurological condition I'd been hiding for months. It was pure anger. "I'm leaving," I said firmly. "I won't come back until you can explain why a laptop is more important than my health." Henry commanded me to sit down, saying I was making a scene. But I'd made my choice. I grabbed my keys and walked out of the house, not looking back. I drove straight to the pharmacy. When I got there, my hands were shaking so badly that I could barely take out my credit card. The total on the screen, $2,200, was my entire savings from my part-time jobs and cutting corners on my daily expenses. I swiped the card, and with a beep, I got the bag of medication. Back in my car, I thought about how I'd always tried to be the perfect, low-maintenance daughter. But it had gotten me nothing. I was like glass, transparent and easily overlooked. But glass can break and become sharp. I decided it was time for a change. I drove to my small apartment in the city, the place where I truly felt myself. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and accessed the family's shared cloud drive, which I managed because Henry was too lazy to learn how to organize files. As I delved deeper, I discovered financial irregularities. There were large withdrawals for Lily's various gadgets and unexplained transfers from my account to the family account. Digging further back 5 years, I found a huge loss of $150,000. It turned out that Henry had made a bad investment during a tech bubble burst. The pieces started to fall into place. The family's obsession with appearances, the reluctance to spend on my medical needs, it all made sense. They were not just selfish. They were in financial ruin and terrified. Then I noticed the warning label on the medication box. It stated that non-compliance with treatment for a hereditary condition would trigger a state audit. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Henry. "You're being over-dramatic. Come home. We have guests, and you need to help with the arrangements." It was all about service, not my well-being. I decided to take action. I printed out all the financial records, my medical history, and the prescription rejection notice, and put them in a folder. I remembered that my aunt, Clara, my father's sister, was a forensic accountant. She'd always been the black sheep of the family, refusing to play the status games. I drove to her house. She was surprised to see me but invited me in. As I showed her the documents and explained the situation, she listened intently. When she saw the medication warning label, she pulled up my father's life insurance policy on her computer. The policy had a clause that voided it if any direct descendant was diagnosed with a hereditary neurological condition before the age of 20. Henry knew that if my diagnosis went on record, the policy worth $4 million would be voided. That's why he'd refused to pay for my medication. I was sick to my stomach. It wasn't just neglect, it was a cold-blooded calculation. My health versus his financial security, and he'd chosen the money. Clara advised me to finish the audit and confront them. She even wrote me a check for $4,500 for my medication and future needs. So I waited until the next Sunday family dinner. I walked into the house and placed the folder in front of Henry. When he opened it and saw the evidence, his face went gray. He tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, but I wasn't having it. I confronted him about the $150,000 loss and the clause in the insurance policy. He lashed out, saying he'd done it for the family, that if the policy voided, they'd have nothing. He said my condition was minor and that I could have managed it. But I told him I had a degenerative neurological disorder. If I didn't treat it, I'd lose my motor and cognitive functions. And he knew it all along but didn't care. Then I dropped the bombshell. I told them that the non-compliance with my treatment had triggered a mandatory state audit. The state would test Lily, and if she had the gene, it would go on her permanent record. The insurance company would be alerted, and the policy would be voided. Henry sank back into his chair, defeated. Vivian whispered that I'd ruined them, but I replied, "You ruined yourselves. I just exposed the truth." I walked out of the house, closing the door gently. The click of the latch was like a final goodbye. I drove away, knowing I'd never go back. In the following months, legal proceedings followed. 2 weeks later, a foreclosure notice came for my parents' house. The insurance company voided the policy due to fraud and non-disclosure. Henry faced potential charges, and Lily tested positive for the gene. She was initially angry at me, but then blamed our parents. When the money ran out, her dreams of becoming an online influencer faded, and she had to get a real job. I stayed in my apartment, taking my medication regularly. The tremor stopped, and my mind became clear. I focused on my architectural designs and started a new project, a community center with reinforced glass walls, symbolizing my new-found strength and resilience. Looking back, I don't hate my family. I just feel a sense of distance, like they're characters from a story I've finished reading. I'm no longer the overlooked glass child. I'm the architect of my own life, building a future that's strong and unbreakable.